Dear Lord, thank you for this day that you blessed us with, a day that we've never seen before. We'd like to thank you for those who come out to participate in their local government. We'd like to thank you and ask a special blessing for those who wanted to be here that couldn't be here. And dear Lord, we'd like to thank you for blessing our community and blessing us with the staff that we have to carry out the day-to-day business for our county government. And dear Lord, please give healing and grace to those who fell victim to the mass shooting. We pray that you bless their families and cover them in your blood. We thank you for all the other blessings you blessed us with in our community and how we've been able to be safe from hate, hurt, harm, and evil to that type of level. We pray that our community continue to bond and that we treat each other as we want to be treated. Dear Lord, we'd like to thank you for the public safety that serve our community. We'd like to thank you for our military, for the great job they do as well. And dear Lord, I ask that you continue to shine on our community as you have always done and can continue to bless us and understand your blessings as you give them. All these blessings we ask in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Marshall. Commissioners, inside your package, you'll find your work sessions of March the 27th and your regular session minutes of March the 28th. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections that needs to be made, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Agenda item 6A is our first of three appointments. We start with the Lowndes County Board of Health. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Dr. Randy Smith's term on the Lowndes County Board of Health has expired, and Dr. Smith has expressed a desire to come off of this board. Ms. Brenda Mims has expressed interest in serving, and she is our only candidate that we have for you this evening.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Dukes? Okay, hearing none, then I will open the floor up for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Mrs. Brenda Mims.
Okay, we have Ms. Brenda Mims. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the nominations, and Ms. Brenda Mims will be appointed by acclamation. Agenda item 6B is the Valdosta Lowndes County Zoning Board of Appeals appointment. Ms. Dukes?
Thank you. There are two members on the ZBOA whose terms are expiring on May the 7th of 2023, Marion Ramsey and Victoria Copeland. Both Mr. Ramsey and Ms. Copeland have expressed a desire to continue to serve.
Any questions for Ms. Dukes?
No, but Mr. Chairman, I'll tell you that I had the opportunity to speak with Mike McCall, who is the chairman of that board, and yesterday, and he did say that both of these board members' attendance is good, and that they certainly desire to continue to serve, and that he recommends their reappointment.
Okay.
For what it's worth.
Okay. With that, then, I'll open the floor up for nominations.
So I'll nominate Ms. Copeland and Mr. Ramsey.
Okay.
Is that allowable?
Okay. Do we have
Nominate
any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, then Mr. Ramsey and Ms. Copeland will be appointed by acclamation back to the board. Agenda item 6C is an appointment to the South Georgia Regional Library Board. Ms. Dukes?
Yes, sir. Dr. Darlene Ridley has stated that she'll no longer be able to serve on the South Georgia Regional Library Board. Dr. Ridley is a member of another board that meets at the same time, so she has a conflict there. The South Georgia Regional Library Board has requested that Ms. Jane Peoples be appointed to the unexpired term, and Ms. Peoples has expressed a desire to serve on this board.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Dukes? Hearing none, I'll open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I move we appoint Jane Peoples.
Okay, we have Ms. Jane Peoples. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations, and Ms. Jane Peoples will be appointed by acclamation. Agenda item 7A is our one public hearing item. This is REZ 2022-10. the Campus Transitional Care Facility. It's located at 2193 Howell Road. It is currently EA, and the request is for PD. It will have well and septic, and this involves 23 acres. Mr. Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. Again, the request here is from EA to PD for the Transitional Care Facility on Howell Road. This is within an agricultural character area, and there are some wetlands on the north end of the property. This is the overall side of the property, largely undeveloped in the rear with the existing house in the front. This is the property as seen from the road. Again, this is the overall site plan for the area, and a more closer view of the area in the rear, primarily for the residents if approved. The Planning Commission heard this and recommended denial 7-3 back in the original case date many months ago.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dillard? Okay, hearing none, we'll enter into the public hearing portion of the meeting, and I'd like to start with this. This is how we're going to do it. Each side will get 10 minutes, and then you can use all that 10 minutes. One person can or 10 people can. However you folks work it out. And then following that, after both sides are heard, then I will allow a 2-minute rebuttal for each side. And we'll start each one with the opposition. So I'll open up the public hearing portion of the meeting, and is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this case? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Savannah Baker, and I reside at 4046 Old Naylor Road, 2.2 miles from 2193 Howell Road. We are addressing you today in reference to collective concerns from my family and the community that surrounds me in regards to the rezoning of 2193 Howell Road. To begin with, I'd like to provide you all with the definition of spot zoning. According to the Office of the Secretary of State for Georgia Rules and Regulations, Rule 672-6.01, Section W, spot zoning is the process of designating a small parcel of land for a use classification different from and less restrictive than that of the surrounding area to qualify for purposes either implied or expressed, which proposed classification is made without any consideration overall of the neighboring land use. Some of this next information has been collected utilizing the 1982 Journal of Urban and Contemporary Law from the Law School at Washington University Open Scholarship. The definition provided as spot zoning is the reclassification by zoning amendment of a small parcel of land to allow a use beneficial to the property owner but detrimental to his neighbors or the community at large. Courts have condemned spot zoning as the antithesis of planned development since the proposed use is either inconsistent with surrounding uses or does not conform to the comprehensive plan. Also from this article, it states courts generally accord deference to the municipal legislature by presuming the validity of its ordinances. When a municipality permits a use inconsistent with its comprehensive plan, however, it is in effect revising the public policy judgments embodied in the plan. The smaller the parcel affected, the greater the likelihood that the rezoning is not in the general interest. Although the party challenging municipal legislation normally has the burden of proof to show that the governmental act bears no reasonable relation to the public health, morals, safety, or welfare, the rezoning of a particularly small parcel may shift the burden to the proponent. He must then show that the proposed use is consistent with surrounding uses, in accord with the master plan, or justified by significant changes in the area. Faced with an allegation of spot zoning, courts examine first whether the rezoning complies with the comprehensive plan. There can be cases where there is no plan or where the plan either does not establish the comprehensive zoning scheme or no longer reflects the course of actual development. Courts will then look to the degree of the public benefit and to the characteristics of the land itself to determine the outcome. Courts hold the rezoning of a limited area in a manner inconsistent with the development or classification of the surrounding area to be spot zoning. To take two extreme examples, if industrially zoned or vacant land surrounds a small parcel in which the municipality rezones from residential to industrial, the ordinance would be valid. On the other hand, if that same parcel stood in the middle of a residential area, a court would find spot zoning. Such easy cases, however, are the exception. In a recent Georgia case, a landowner requested the town rezone his vacant property from residential to commercial so that he could build a self-service convenience store. The parcel was at the fringe of a residential area along a heavily traveled highway. On the other side of the highway, zoned industrial, stood a textile plant. The court admitted that the plant and highway lessened the suitability of plaintiff's land for residential use. Nevertheless, the court characterized the proposed change as spot zoning. It found that a rezoning would generate increased traffic on residential side streets, causing a safety hazard. In addition, the property values of surrounding residences would suffer. The same article also states the landowner's private benefit alone cannot justify a rezoning. Courts view the landowner's prospective gain with disfavor if there is evidence that he acquired the land with notice of the original classification and with the intention to convert it to a new use. More important, the owner's benefit is the effect of the rezoning on his neighbors and the community at large. Similarly to this article, we as a community have found ourselves in a position where someone is attempting to rezone an area surrounded by residential and agricultural neighborhoods. We as a community feel that this rezoning will increase traffic, crime, and decrease property value for citizens in the surrounding area. I would also like to add that at the last commissioners' meeting on March 28th, 2023, it was decided that the vote for this would be tabled to today's meeting, April 11th, 2023, which is 15 days. However, that would mean a new public notice should have been published on March 28th, 2023 in regards to the hearing date of April 11th today. There was never any new notice published in the paper or new signage at the location of the property for today's meeting. According to OCGA 36-66-4A, a local government taking action resulting in a zoning decision shall provide for a hearing on the proposed action, at least 15 but no more than 45 days prior to the date of hearing. The local government shall cause to be published with a newspaper of general circulation within the territorial boundaries of the local government a notice of the hearing. The notice shall state the time, place, and purpose of the hearing. Due to Lowndes County not conforming to prescribed methods set out by the state of Georgia, we feel this was insufficient notice for the public. In conclusion, we as a community have already stressed our many concerns numerous times, provided over 500 signatures and letters in opposition to this, and provided many facts and statistics on a facility of this measure. As representatives for a citizen in your community, we feel this rezoning would be unlawful and a complete disregard. We feel this rezoning would be unlawful and a complete disregard for the voices of the people you represent if this rezoning is granted. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this case? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please. You have approximately 4 minutes and 15 seconds.
Hello, my name's James Walker. I live at 4060 Bourne Pond Road. I've been out on Bourne Pond about 28 years. My main concern is, Bourne Pond is, y'all paved it and we gave some extra right-of-ways, and I feel we're gonna have to start having some traffic going to the Dollar Generals and the stores, because that's gonna be the closest thing in that area. But my other concern is our growth, people moving out there. We'd like to have some nice subdivisions. And this kind of looks like a subdivision to me, water and sewer. Where the water, once you get 25 people on it, it's gonna have to be a community water system. So where they're gonna put 2 wells, a well house, and then the septic tanks, for this many locations, looks like it's probably gonna be a land application field, because I don't see them getting that many septic tanks up on this thing. Because if you go out there, Howell Road's built up above everything out there. So either they're gonna have to dig down to the hard pan and bring in new dirt just to get septic tanks in there or build them up. And I just don't know how they're gonna do that. And if this is built there, I kind of feel, Moulton Branch is a really good school. But if y'all go out there and ask the 5th graders where they're going to go to school for middle school, I guarantee you 80% of them is gonna say Higher or Pine Grove. So I'd like, for y'all to bring something good for us where we can keep students in there at Lowndes Middle. So that's my main concerns. So I hope y'all vote this down. Thank y'all.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? We have about 2.5 minutes. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Blake Howell, live at 3417 Bourne Pond Road. I've lived out there for 38 years. I'm standing here today because I care about my neighbors and their families. I know that this rezoning goes against their wishes for our community. I'm also here for my family because my children will soon be attending Moulton Branch Elementary. I've spoken with people all over District 3 and 5, nurses, linemen, businessmen, the list goes on. People who I consider to be the real backbone of this of society. This facility absolutely goes against their wishes, your own planning and their vision for our community. Your own planning commission stated that it goes against the character of the area. I just think you have all the opposition that you need to deny this rezoning. If you'll remember the amount of people who were here for your initial vote, I mean, you had overflow seating. That opposition still stands. I just don't see how you can ignore the wishes of all these, of all your constituents and voters. Just would like to ask you to please show these hardworking and generous men and women that their voices matter. We're looking to you to help protect our most precious assets and investments. I just feel that Redeem Living could find a more suitable location, respect the wishes of the community, do unto others, do unto others as you would want them to do to you. We're going to have to live with the consequences of your decision. We're not going to be able to leave, but Redeem Living could find a better location. Just thank you for your time, and we hope you deny this rezoning. Thank you.
Okay, we have about 28 seconds. Is there anyone else? Okay, hearing none, then we'll hear from the support for this case. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this case? Anyone that would like to speak in favor, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Brent Moore, 3850 CL Moore Road. Thank you for your time, Commissioners, staff. I just wanted to address a few concerns that have been presented to me over the last, we'll say, 12 months of this case that's been going on. One of the big concerns is we're not regulated. We have multiple people expressing concern that, there's nobody governing what we do, and we're just able to come in there and do whatever we want to do if this were to be passed, and which is not the case. We're actually a GAR certified residential program, which is the Georgia Association of Recovery Residences. So it means that we have to follow their procedures, their guidelines, make sure we pass inspections, make sure our density is not too excessive, make sure that we're not, just charging money to make money, and really offering what would be a suitable living for somebody who needs a program like Redeem Living. So just wanted to first address that. Second thing is part of the GAR certification is we obviously are required to drug test so that we just don't allow anybody to be in the home that is not eligible to pass a drug screening test, because obviously we are there for accountability purposes and to allow people to get help from drug addiction and alcoholism. I was talking with a friend of mine recently who was a active methamphetamine user in this community at one point, and he said, "Brent, I could take you to 3 to 5 houses on Howell Road where I could purchase methamphetamines from right now. Promise you, I could take you there right now, and we could go purchase it." So it's there already. We're trying to not let it be there. We're not going to allow it to be there. I've had a meeting with the sheriff and have made him aware that if it does go through, that he will be allowed to access the property at any time with his drug dogs training, whatever it would be, that he would be able to come and make sure that we do not have any drugs on the property and obviously are not causing any problems. All residents will be background checked. We're not going to allow anybody with any felony violent charges, any sexual related charges, anything that would be a risk of danger for somebody. The men that we want to bring into this program are men who want to be there and that need help and that want to get help. And this is the next step for them after they've already gotten out of treatment. So with that, we're not going to be having the rapists and the murderers that's been accused of being in there, and it will be a safe environment. These men are legally allowed to live in that house. They could purchase that house. They could rent that house. They could buy any other piece of property or house in that area. And so, next thing I want to address is it was brought to y'all's attention that there was a gentleman who spoke on behalf of Redeem Living from this podium 2 or 3 meetings ago. in support of what we do. There was a charge that he was charged with but not convicted of, and I think it was a battery charge and from a drunken stupor, which he was not convicted of. So he was not guilty of the accused charge, meaning it obviously didn't happen or it was misconstrued in the situation. I don't know the details of it in depth, but I do know this. Since that happened to that gentleman, he came through our program, got his life put together, left our program, started working for a local business, became part owner of the business, and then became a fireman for the city of Valdosta and has recently won an award for, I can't even remember what the award was. But my point in that is what was brought to y'all's attention was the darkness of the reality of what we face in this world, that there's people that have had issues, and the fact that obviously he wasn't charged with it, so the validation of we're going to have these people out here is invalid. But the fact is that this man is now giving back to our community. He's supporting our community. He's a business owner. He's a firefighter. He is involved in the community, and that's what we're here for, is to take normal human beings who just had a rough patch in life and enter them back into our community to be an upstanding citizen instead of being stuck into the drug court, instead of being stuck in probation, instead of being stuck in our Lowndes County jails, instead of being stuck in a dead-end job or whatever it may be. We're here to give them hope, and that's what I want to make sure that we're doing. Mr. Howell just mentioned to do unto others as we would want someone to do unto us. You know, I'm a firm believer in that, and I think that we should give people second chances, because the reality is 1 out of 4 of us in here will struggle with addiction. We will struggle with some form of hang-up that's going to cost us valuable time with our families, valuable times into the society. So I want to do unto others as I would want somebody to do unto me, as was done to me, where somebody gave me a second chance. Somebody gave me hope. There's multiple men sitting behind me right now who have been through our program that are positive citizens in this community because somebody believed in them and gave them a second chance. Another way to talk about doing unto others is, as we would have them do unto us, is everybody in this room could agree that there's a need for a program similar to what we're doing. It's got to go somewhere in this community, you know, and that's our biggest, you know, plead with y'all is we don't know where else to go, and this has been the best place that we have been able to find, and this is the best opportunity we found. And so that's all I have to say. I appreciate your time, and I'll be available for questions.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of it? All right, at this time then, I will offer opposition an opportunity for rebuttal for 2 minutes. Again, if you would, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Savannah Baker, 4046 Old Naylor Road. It's not that we don't want anybody that's having trouble with these things to get help. We do. We're just requesting that it be in a different location in Lowndes County. We don't feel that that is the best location for a facility of this measure, especially since there are no local, state, or federal regulations for this. I think you guys need to look into what the GAR network does. It is a membership. So there is nobody who is coming in and checking and on site. There is none of that. Nobody's going to be there if somebody goes into a drug-induced psychosis. Who's going to be there to handle that? But on top of that, to say that they haven't had, or they don't allow violent people into their program, doing research, there have been a couple people who have had a violent history in their program, but take that out of it. Just because someone doesn't have a violent history doesn't mean that they can't, especially if there's drugs involved. You don't know how that person might react, or if they're coming down off of something while they're going through getting their help. So we've mentioned numerous times all of our concerns to you guys, and that's about where it ends, is a different location is all that we're asking for. We're not wanting people to not get help. We want people to get help, but we just believe there's a better location for it.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, we have about 40 seconds. State your name and address for the record, please.
Blake Howell, 3417 Bourne Pond Road. I just feel like our community is being made out to be villains, like we're just uncaring. We're not. That's the furthest thing from the truth I've ever heard. These people are Christian people. We're just worried about the safety and we want to protect our investments. I keep hearing these guys can come out there and live. That's perfectly true. If they want to come out there and invest in a property, I'll be the first one down there to welcome them. We got people out there building $300,000 houses on Bourne Pond, want to keep the growth positive. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone now, that time is up, is there anyone that is in support of this request that would like to rebuttal? Anyone that would like a rebuttal in support? Again, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Brent Moore, 3850 C. Elmore Road. The only rebuttal I have is, there may have been somebody in the past before we implemented the background check measures. We implemented the background checks once it was brought to our attention that there was a concern for that. So they may be able to dig something up, and that's fine, obviously. We can dig up stuff all day on different people, so thank you.
We have about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Anyone else that would like to rebuttal that is on the support side? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Lalonic, 603 West Park Avenue, member of the Redeemed Living House. I like to say that this house gave me an opportunity. I came from Tennessee, homeless, living on the street. They took a chance in me. They didn't know who I was. I came with not a cent in my pocket. Now I have a job through them. They helped me get that. I'm not a rapist. I'm not a villain. I'm neither of those things. I guess you're average Joe, you know. I think it just is a great opportunity to expand what is starting to grow right now, and I don't think that it should be something denied because of a possibility of where your children might be going to school here in the next, I don't know, 38 years, 15, 5, whatever the case might be. It kind of sounds like you're trying to take an opportunity away from somebody that's trying to help themselves and better themselves like I did. I'm not court-ordered here. I didn't come through a system. I came on my own. I took the actual steps that was needed, and with that being said, thank you for your time.
All righty. I will close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and Commissioners, I will turn it over to you for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question. Just
Mr. Ornstein had his
go
hand
ahead,
first.
go ahead, Scott.
I'm just curious, I mean, we've talked a little bit about the history and what ifs and the facts surrounding where they've come from, and I'd like, if, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask if Brent can come back up and answer the question about currently they're at 603 West Park Avenue, and I'm not sure how long they've been there, and I'd like to know, like, how many calls for service, maybe from Vice Police Department, that we've had there. I mean, I'm just curious about, has there been concerns and issues and incidents at their current location that could ultimately end up being the same incidents, concerns at another location? That's just a question that I kind of wanted to have answered before.
Okay, Mr. Moore, would you come forward and answer that question, please?
So I didn't say my name.
Stick to the question too, please.
To answer your question, at 603 West Park, we've had one instance where we initiated a phone call to the Valdosta City Police Department. We had a resident who was who came home intoxicated due to the way that our program works with accountability that is there with people wanting to get help. They immediately called me and my director. We were both at a fundraiser event, and they said, hey, we think something's wrong with the resident. And immediately, we said, okay, and we headed that way. We had one of our board members go over there and make sure he was safe, make sure everybody's fine, nothing was wrong. He just questioned him, and he, was like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then once I got there, then he began to tell us, I don't want to leave, so on and so forth. We said, look, man, you got to pack your stuff and you got to go. We had all discovered at that point he was drunk. And so I called, or I had my director, or actually I had my board member call dispatch and ask for an officer to come out. 2 officers came out, very polite gentlemen with the city police department. They said, is everything okay? I said, yeah, man. I said, I just wanted you to be here while he left. That way there wasn't any issues, there wasn't any problems, and no potential problems. And he said, cool, man. And they stood there while he packed the stuff. He yelled at me a couple times. He's mad because I was making him leave. And
So, Mr. Moore, you had one incident on Park Avenue?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And how long have y'all been on Park
I
Avenue?
believe almost 3 years. But before that, we were at 401 Danube Circle, which is in Shore Estates, and same situation, different Saturday. Had a guy who was drunk, and we asked him to leave. He said, I don't want to leave. We called the police. Police made him leave. So that way, there
Does that answer
wasn't.
your question?
Yes, sir.
There wasn't an escort where he just left the property on his own, was out there in the wild, and DUI or anything like that. We made
Okay.
sure that.
We got our question answered. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Chairman, seeing that we had a issue before, I just wanted to verify from, I guess, Walter or Paige, that we're meeting the legal requirements that were stated earlier pertaining to the sign or number of days that someone spoke to earlier, that she spoke to earlier.
Well, notice was given of your prior meeting, and then at that meeting, notice was given to those who were here that the meeting was tabled.
Yeah, so the meeting was given at the proper time. We just tabled the hearing is all we've done. So there was no point in re-advertising it because you chose to table.
Okay, yeah, I was just making sure that we're good to go on that.
Should be.
And the second question, I guess just to the staff, just to ask them, based on the current zoning that's there now, what in their proposal could not be achieved?
Based on the current zoning,
Yes.
the overall density of the houses shown on their site plan, we do allow for family, single-family dwellings on EA zoning as it stands today. Again, possible an accessory dwelling is allowed for a family member. And again, this property being 22 acres could be subdivided into 4 5-acre tracts properly, and then a house could be put on each property. So overall, it's the density and the mixture of uses with the multipurpose gym and chapel that's shown on the site plan. But if the rezoning was not in place, then it could just be remained EA, subdivided, and developed with houses.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, I'll turn it over to you for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the rezoning request.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote by a show of hands. Those in support of the motion, please raise your hand. It's 3. Those in opposition, please raise your hand. It's 2. The vote is 3-2 in support of the motion. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 8A, and this is the Probation Department Service Agreement. Ms. Roundtree, good afternoon, or good evening now.
Good evening, everyone.
I have presented in front of you the probation service agreement that is required by the misdemeanor probation oversight unit for probation services for Lowndes County probation that we provide to Lowndes County State Court. The service agreement is valid for a 5-year period. I last presented that to the board back in 2018, so it is time for it to be renewed. As I mentioned yesterday, there is only 2 changes, would be, the effective date, which would be July 1st, 2023, and also the number of defendants that are supervised by each officer. In the previous service agreement, we had that number at 350, based off the fact that we were starting from the previous provider. I'm lowering that number to 250, but to remind the commissioners and the chairman, our current caseload runs about 150. We want to keep 250 in case of turnover, medical leave, or anything like that, to make sure that we remain compliant with the service agreement. Any questions?
Any questions from Ms. Roundtree? Thank you, Ms. Roundtree.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the probation department service agreement. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 8B is to amend the 2015 solid waste ordinance. Mr. Beals.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, as we spoke about yesterday, during our recent solid waste franchise renewal process, both franchises indicated a desire to make some program amendments or a request for the board to consider those. One of the items has to do with the not-to-exceed fee for basic service. That's making the adjustment from $20 up to $25, and the other request was to adjust the collection center hours, which would be a modification that would adjust about 7 hours, reduce by about 7 hours, which would open up at 8, close at 6 for Friday, Saturday, and Monday, and on Sunday, open at 1 and close at 6.
Any question from Mr. Beals?
Yeah. Section B, Section 3.6. It starts out, if a franchise operates a collection center or centers, I thought they were required to operate at least one.
Yeah, if they were not going to collect on the curbside all of those particular items, they had the option to operate a collection center. So they do have the opportunity, or they did have the requirement to operate a collection center if they were not going to collect all the material at the curbside. So in fact, they are required to at least do one. Advanced disposal elected to do 2 collection centers.
Okay, so that clause is still in there. It's just not in this section.
Yes.
Okay.
It's written this way because operating the collection center is an alternative to curbside.
I got you. I just wanted to make sure that because if you just read this by itself, it's like they have an option. So I just want to make sure that was not, it was not an option. They still have to collect it, unless they go to curbside pickup.
Unless they go to curbside pickup,
Okay,
correct.
I just wanted to make sure, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions from Mr. Beals? Thank you, Mr. Beals. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Chairman.
We have a motion to approve the request. A second. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item 9A is the Brook Ridge Drive grading, drainage, base, and paving. Mr. McLeod.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Brook Ridge Drive is approximately 0.42 miles long, and is located just south of Hayhira. Staff opened bids on March 28th and received 2 bids. The Scruggs Company, $647,831.28. Reams and Son Construction, $768,703.15.
Any questions for Mr. McLeod? Thank you, Mr. McLeod.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the Scruggs Company as the low bidder.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the Scruggs Company as the low bidder. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 9B is a bid for a crop sprayer for the Utilities Department. Ms. Black?
Yes, sir. We solicited bids for a new crop sprayer for the utilities, for the LAS, the hayfield. We received one bid that met specifications from Flint Equipment Company, $36,750.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Black? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we award the bid to Flint Equipment Company.
Okay, we have a motion to award the bid to Flint Equipment Company. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 10, County Manager's Report. Ms. Dukes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to re-mention that today, or this week, is National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week and National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. We heard from our staff yesterday, and I just want to reiterate the comments and thank you all for your support. I know that you heard that from Danny and his team, as well as Linda and her team, but the support that you all provide those departments really does make the difference as far as them doing their jobs. And our retention rates are tremendous, bless you. And we are just really proud of the service that they provide. I think that they embody the customer service expectation that you all have for the services that we provide citizens. And so thank you again for that support. This week, Ms. Barwick is attending active shooter training. The Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, bless you, was able to get in a large class that is supported through the air process that the FBI uses nationwide to train on active shooters. So there's a multi-agency training going on this week that is today, tomorrow, and Thursday at the Lowndes County Civic Center. We had to change venues at the last minute, and Robin and her staff were able to get out there and get tables and chairs and other things set up. So thank you, Robin, for adjusting on the fly, as you all always do so well, to make that happen. The most important thing here is that, unfortunately, this is something that we've had some recent exposure to in our community with the hoax out at Valdosta High School, and to now have that, this is a level of training that you normally see in Chicago and Detroit. I think, Megan, they said there were 151 agencies that were waiting for this training. It is a tremendous value, and it's because of the relationships that some of our leadership at the Sheriff's Office have at the federal level that we were able to get this class here. So the fire department is also involved, as well as 911. They actually have simulated dispatch as they move through the scenario. So if any of you over the next couple of days have time to stick your head in there, which I guess would be in the morning, you're certainly welcome to do that. The pipe is going in next door. We hear from Mr. McLeod that once they mobilized, that they would start work and they would finish that up. So we're excited that project is moving forward. Next Thursday, we will be with Leadership Lounge for their Economic Development Day. And the last thing that I have for you all this evening is Saturday at 7 a.m. The chairman and I will be, and hopefully Commissioner Evans as well, with the Girls on the Run program for their spring run at Wiregrass Technical College. So you all are welcome to join us at 7 a.m. on Saturday. The Girls on the Run program is something that Commissioner Evans and I have become involved in over the last year. It's a tremendous program about empowering young girls in our community and helping them be all that they can be, which I know is something that as fathers of daughters and a mother of daughters, you all can all get behind. So if you guys are going to be in town on Saturday at 7 o'clock, the chairman and Commissioner Evans and I would welcome the company.
Is this an actual run?
Yes, sir. They're going to do a
they
5K.
really run.
But you can be a spectator.
Yes, they need volunteers.
I want to see this.
Yes. There's also a dance. So I'm emceeing, and there's a dance that I've got to learn between now and then. So it may be worth turning out simply for that. That might be the end of my tenure with Girls on the Run after that, but we'll see.
Chief Green and EMS need to be close by.
That's right. That's right. Without the video running.
That it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I usually announce or ask prior to the meeting, however, I failed to do that. Are there any Leadership Lounge folks with us tonight? Okay. Good. Worked out good then, didn't it? All right. Any citizens wishing to be heard? Ms. Lovern? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, I'll entertain a
Well, I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware that the city of Valdosta is hosting the Blues Festival this weekend, and everyone in the county is invited to come out. They're supposed to have the Blues Brothers themselves here, so, as well as many blueberries from our Senator Rush Goodman. So I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that.
Good. Any other comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
To adjourn.
We are adjourned.